Oh, recording. Yeah, hit my button here. Okay. I should have probably hit earlier. Yeah, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. So when it bleeps, I'm going. Anyway, I just spent a long time reading the summary judgment motion in the YouTube VIACOM case, and yeah, it's sort of interesting. I think VIACOM's going to win, really easy. But anyway, so I'll talk about that in a minute. Just in news, Karina's video got put back up, so that was good. So I won't put the little notices in front of my videos anymore. But yeah, I mean, I will do that. I think, like, whatever, put the notices there every time somebody's video gets fucked with for at least 3 or 4 days. But whatever, or maybe I should do it for a week. I don't know. It should be some sort of rule, because it's what punishment should be. Punishment. But whatever, it's kind of funny. I should turn the camera around because on my home page it says that to be a partner, and the video they're saying you make more money on your video, and then they list the video and it's punish YouTube video. So that's just kind of funny. Yeah, I'm sure they'll partner me with that video. Anyway, just kind of funny. All right, so some other guy, I don't know, some sort of Avenger guy. What the hell his name was? Let me see if I can find it. Infidel Avenger guy. He sent me an email about this whole whatever. He had read a blog post or whatever by Captain America or something. Some guy who owns some basketball team or some other asshole, one of those rich fuckers. It's bad enough people follow these sports teams, but they even follow the owners of the sports teams. Talk about sycophants. God, gotta shoot some people. Well, anyway, seems like a nice enough guy, but what an idiot. I mean, get a life. Don't be reading blog posts by millionaires. Wasted your time. But anyway, not that I was going to talk about this anyway, so I'm just mentioning him because he did PM me, and so it just seems like the thing to do. But yeah, of course I was going to talk about this lawsuit. When they finally released it, they released papers. Okay, so that's why I'm talking about it. Alright, so what they've got here basically is a summary judgment motion has been filed by VIACOM. And YouTube is counter-motioning, of course. But anyway, the idea is basically they want to save time. They don't want to have to go to the jury trial thing with the whole case. They don't want to have to take the whole argument to a jury. They just want to have the jury decide the damages and basically have the judge decide the guilt. And so that's basically what the summary judgment motion is about. It's basically about most of the conduct is, old conduct before 2008, whatever, middle of 2008. But anyway, and it's kind of a slam dunky kind of thing. I mean, the original owners of YouTube were really fuckers. I mean, they were employees. They were all three of them were employees at PayPal, and they basically were set out just to create a shit website, just a garbage site that had views, so they could just sell it for big giant money because it had the views, because views were worth money. And that was their whole plan. And so they planned to sell out YouTube right from the very start. It had nothing to do with broadcasting yourself and YouTube and all this. It had nothing to do with any of that shit. It just had to do with, let's steal enough shit, put it on the internet, get enough views, and then we'll sell it like it's a real website. And they did it. And they suckered Google out of $1.74 billion. And it's laughable when you read these emails of these people, these cynical bastards. So right there, and then when Google bought YouTube, it bought the liability. It tried to limit the liability. Actually, when it was negotiating, it said, well, that's 12% of the purchase price has to be held, for future liability on the past claims. And the YouTube guys were smart enough to get that written out of the final deal. So I don't know what the real number ended up being, but it's probably some tiny little fund that was held over for liability. So it's just so funny when you see one of these big monster companies get just totally suckered. I mean, they bought a piece of shit. Because, yeah, Viacom's going to win. They're going to win billions of dollars. They're going to win billions of dollars. I don't see how they can fucking lose this case. Because you got emails coming out of these people where they just admit that they knew it was stolen content. They knew all the visits, 90%, some are saying 80%. Even, the lawyers when they're buying the company, well, not the lawyers, the investment houses, have estimates of 58% of the views are being generated by stolen content. And they still buy the goddamn thing. I mean, it's just like, and their real internal numbers are closer to 75 to 80% of all views are for stolen content. And that once you have this generated audience, once you're a bookmark on somebody's website, I mean, Viacom didn't even make this argument, but it's a really, slam dunk kind of argument, in my opinion, is, once you're bookmarked, once you get your site there, and you got those views, they will come back. Once your name is in their head, they will come back to your site. And so they got all of their popularity was generated. It's pretty clear, 90% of it, whatever the number, by stealing other people's content. It was that simple, and they knew what was going on. Even some of the owners said, "Go steal it," to each other, because some great clip was out there. They said, "Go steal it." So yeah, I mean, it's a slam dunk case, especially in the old. Before Google bought it. But then when Google bought it, they knew exactly what they were getting into. On their own Google video site, before they bought YouTube, they inspected every video before publishing it. After they bought YouTube, they stopped doing that. I mean, they wanted to get right into the racket. And then they're all crooks. They're all liars. I mean, conveniently, nobody has any of their emails. So the inventors of Gmail, somehow they just can't function. They can't do their email right. And some of them just point out quite deliberately, "Well, I delete everything." Yeah, right, because you're a crook. And then even Page, one of the founders of Google is like, I haven't read his testimony yet, but it just sounds like it's going to be hilarious. It's just that deposition. But he apparently didn't know anything about YouTube, didn't know how it functioned, didn't hear anything about it. It's like we're listening to Clarence Thomas talk about how I never talked about abortion. I mean, if I was a judge and the owner of a company comes to me with that kind of big, preposterous, fat, juicy lie, I mean, just for that lie alone, Google should be guilty. I mean, you're going to come into a fucking court and just basically lie. That's all he did. He just lied in this deposition. There's no fucking other word for it. He fucking lied. I mean, just think that he didn't know what YouTube was, right? This is one of the owners, one of the founders of Google. And, yeah, I don't know what YouTube is. YouTube, I don't know. I mean, this is preposterous. So anyway, just a huge joke. And, especially when you think about how much he was engaged in all this copying of other books, because they were doing that whole copy the internet book thing and all that other crap. So he knew all these issues and this copyright crap and all this stuff. There's no way he can just pretend he was ignorant of it all. This is such bullshit. Anyway. So, there's just little things. I mean, YouTube had apparently at one time for 2 weeks, they allowed users to flag videos for copyright violation. So instead of filing a DMCA, they could just flag a video for, because they knew it was a copyright violation. They could just suggest, "Hey, I suggest that you take a look at this video because I think it's a copyright violation." And they only did it for 2 weeks. And why they stopped doing it? Well, it seems quite obvious. They stopped doing it because they didn't want to know that the content was copyright violation, because then they'd be responsible, and they didn't want to take any responsibility. It was they completely did everything they could to make the system broken. They didn't want there to be any way for the system to prevent the violations of copyright. And so they're just dead. They're just dead. They're guilty as hell. They're fucked. So there was pretty good arguments about the DMCA and the fact that it doesn't give you the right to just hide. Companies can't just hide there and say, "Oh, we didn't know anything. We couldn't know anything. We couldn't do anything." You can't really do that. There is provisions in the law that basically say you have to have some effort. You have to make some effort to do something. You can't just sit back and say, "I'm helpless. The users are doing it and I can't stop them." And YouTube had demonstrated that they could stop them. They could do things, and they chose not to do them. And even when they started doing the fingerprinting thing, that was kind of funny too. They had this fingerprinting technology, so they could basically tell that if somebody was uploading content that they had this signature of. And they would only do it, though, for companies that would engage in a license agreement. So if you weren't willing to let YouTube broadcast your stuff and make money off your stuff, in some sort of 50-50 deal or something, then you couldn't protect your stuff. And so it was this grotesque extortion. This was like a mob hitman coming up to you and saying, pay me or your house is going to, you need fire insurance. Your house looks like it's going to burn down, so you better pay me some fire insurance. I mean, it was just as bad as this. Is like a mobster. Google's a fucking mobster. It was extorting. It's basically saying either pay us or we're just going to steal your stuff. We're just going to let our shitty little creepy users steal your crap. And it was just so willful. I mean, it's just like I said. There's just no way I think a judge is going to say anything but, yeah, you're guilty. Fuck you. And so who knows what a jury's going to do about damages and stuff. I mean, that's another whole argument about trying to figure out whether Viacom was really hurt that much. But they could probably come up with numbers. If they start saying, well, that's it. Sorry, out of time.